let's talk about desperation while I fix my little nape in the back with my hair. So I have noticed a trend in people doing things they said they would never do because of the current state of the economy. And I want to talk about it because I want you to be able to identify when you yourself are behaving in a desperate way, or when you are making decisions from a desperate place, relational decisions, spiritual decisions from a desperate place. I'm gonna tell on myself, and this is when I realized nobody is immune from desperation striking them. Like, I believe that when it comes to these conversations about jealousy, about infidelity, being a bad friend at times, about people pleasing, that people tend to have like this moral high ground that if you have remained, or if you've made it through all of those types of relationships and you've remained unscathed, that somehow you are the authority on that said topic. And here's the thing, I don't think having the feeling is what makes you an ugly person. I don't think that. I think there's this girl, I can't remember what her name is, but you'll know who she is. She makes these videos about how she sits with her thoughts and she observes them. And you get the understanding that, oh, she's talking about how you just watch it, but you don't adopt the identity of that thing, right? That's the difference. That's the difference. So some ugly feelings that I've had before that made me feel like, well, if I have this thought, am I that person? Because the Bible does say, so a man thinketh, so is he. I don't think that if a thought passes, that's who you are. I think that you really need to examine your circumstances, your heart posture. Sit with that. Ask yourself, what is triggering me to have such a thought that makes me ashamed to look at myself in the mirror? That's radical self-awareness. Now, I had a thought back in what year was that? 2018 or something like that, right? So it was a long time ago. I was dating this man. When we first started dating, homie was broke. And it didn't bother me because I was broke too, but he definitely had a superiority complex. And he just wanted me to feel less than. I can definitely say that. So he starts making more money. And when he started making more money, it was right around the time when I had lost my job. This is after the pandemic. That's exactly what happened. This is after the pandemic. And I was a licensed massage therapist at this time. And things were getting like really hard for me because during that time, I wasn't able to perform massage. So I became financially desperate. Not only did I allow this man to treat me any old type of raggedy way without being aware of the fact that me being afraid of losing the man who was making the money, going back to a lifestyle that maybe I wasn't really too fond of, you know what I'm saying? Thinking he would save me. I literally remember feeling like he was, this is what I pictured in my mind, right? Because there were a couple of feelings that I got from him. One feeling was I was in a wilderness, like in a courtyard, in the middle of a forest, completely nude. And he was in one of those bird boxes watching me, completely clothed. Because what it felt like to me is he was like watching me be vulnerable with him, and he was just observing me, but he was not participating. That's one feeling he gave me. Another feeling that he gave me was I was drowning. I am reaching up to him, and he is like, that's what it felt like. And I had to check my motherfucking self. I had to say, hold on. Nah, you done made it this far without this little boy. What the hell got your ass thinking? Miss Mamas, what the hell? This is gonna be too long. Is it gonna be too long, or is it gonna be the right length? What got you thinking that in order for you to experience anything good, you need a man? And see, you don't know what that feel like. You can't relate. Okay, girl, this video not for you. But for the people who keep pushing that thought off because you are trying to convince yourself that you are not making that decision out of desperation, stop lying to yourself. It's slowing up the progress. It's slowing you down. Stop lying. Sit with it. And the question that you need to be asking yourself is, okay, what is it that I feel like he's giving me that I feel like I cannot give myself? Because it's always a question for yourself. It rarely has to actually do with the person. It's more of like the way they say narcissists watch people perform emotions because they're not capable of having those emotions. It's the same thing when you are in relationships that don't serve you and you're trying to figure out why you're staying. It's because you're trying to prove to yourself that you're capable of doing the things by doing the thing for the other person, simultaneously failing yourself. Okay? Because in your mind, okay, let me see. Yeah, in your mind, that makes sense, okay? In your mind, if I can see my work living and breathing in someone else, I have succeeded. But you have not succeeded until you have done all of those things for yourself. That's for the Captain Save-A-Ho girl and boy. It doesn't matter how many people you made if you haven't done it for yourself, and none of that shit matters because you are your greatest project. Number two, a thought that I had that had me thinking, girl, what the hell is wrong with you? I say to my friend, I'm having a thought that I have never had before in my life. And I need to tell somebody about it because I do not want to take on the identity of this person who just thinks, or I feel like if you sit by yourself with something for too long, and I could be wrong, but I feel like if you sit with something for too long and you ruminate on it, you'll think that's who you are. And I don't think you're supposed to do that. That's why you're supposed to have good friendships. That's why you're supposed to have people around you who you can trust. Because if there's a time when you're having a thought that you are not, you like, this is out of character for me. The shame of just having the thought at all will cause you to isolate, will cause you to start to behave and like move like a person who is like that. I don't know how to explain it other than saying it just like that. Like you gotta get that shit out of you. Not saying pass it on to somebody else. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is you need to say it out loud so you can hear what that shit sound like outside of the space in between your ears. And when you hear it, you'll be like, okay, that don't even sound right coming out of my mouth. What is going on in my life? How far in this desperate hole have I allowed myself to go in to where I'm saying things like it should be me, not you? I don't even know that. I don't know that. That's very unfamiliar. So if desperation could make me a person who feels as though money should never determine why you stay with somebody. Money should never determine how people treat you. Money should never give people free reign to run amok in your damn life. Money should never cause your character to change. And I had a thought. Y'all better be careful. Because I know me. I know me. And I'm saying I know me because and all of the things that I've done, and I am not a perfect person. I have done some stuff that'll make you be like, well, hold on now. It made me do that too. Life is interesting. That's why I watch people's stuff. I be like, I ain't gonna say nothing because shit. Push come to shove, a rock in a hard place, get a little too tight to squeeze. I don't know. But there are some things that you should know. There are some things that you should stand on. There are some things you just shouldn't waver on. Okay? And you pick what those things are. You pick those things and you stick to them like your goddamn life depend on it, because I'm telling you right now, it will. It will. Your livelihood. There are places, opportunities, people that I've met, relationships that I've had that if I had poor character, it would have never happened. That if I wouldn't have forgiven myself for making certain mistakes, if I wouldn't have learned how to have a backbone, if I wouldn't have been strong enough to cut certain people out of my life, I would be a shell of a person right now. So sometimes the grittiness of the life, of the bad decisions that you make, when you on the other side of that bad decision, I'm tell you this, if you make a decision that is out of character for you, the guilt alone will whip you right back into shape if you have the correct heart posture. If you are centered and you're like, you know what? I do not desire to be a person who is manipulative. I do not desire to be a person who doesn't trust people. I do not desire to be a person who doesn't really have good friendships. I don't desire to be that person. So if I know what I'm currently doing is out of alignment with who I really truly desire to be, get it together. Desperation will do that to you. If you feel desperate for love, if you feel desperate for love, you will let people beat you and tell you that they love you. If you feel desperate for love, you will let people pimp you out and tell you that they love you, using you like you just mop outside of my window and tell you that they love you. If you are desperate for friendship, you will let people in your life who betray you, who can't wait to get on the internet and sell out. Every time y'all have a disagreement, they can't wait to do a little post about it, hoping it's their viral moment. When you are desperate for friendship, you will entertain people who can't even tell you happy birthday and swear to God you got friends. No, you don't. No, you don't. You at everybody's birthday party. You showing up to all of the functions for everybody else. Can't nobody show up for you. You ain't got no friends. You ain't got no friends. Why are you around those people? They do not like you. They do not. You know what? They may like you, but they like you. I'm going to tell you what my baby told me when I was getting divorced. Because I stopped being desperate for love. A lot of people think that a divorce means that you were incapable of loving somebody. No, sometimes you get a divorce because you are so capable of loving somebody, you realize that you're pouring into one of those porous type of instruments that just all your love just spilling all out the sides. It ain't going nowhere where it need to go. My baby told me when she was 7 or 8 years old, I was going to say 6, 7 or 8 years old. She told me, she said, cause I told her and her little sister at the time, I said, me and daddy are getting a divorce cause I'm very straightforward. And I need y'all to know because life is going to be very different. It may be a lot harder for us. But mommy's going to always fight to make sure that I can do everything I can for y'all. But me and daddy are getting a divorce. And she sat back in the front seat of that car cause we were just sitting in the car at the time. And she said, you know what, mommy, that makes sense. And I said, what do you mean that makes sense? She said, because daddy loved you how people love the trees. I said, what do you mean? And she said, people say they love trees, but they use trees for pencils. They use trees for paper. And then there's no trees left. Out of the mouth of babes. Listen, when you are desperate in any capacity, you will be able to tell because nothing around you looks like what you really, really want for yourself. I remember I was dating that guy who told me that he wanted me to be a slave. I would go over to his house and I literally felt all the sunshine, all the joy leaving my body. I would walk into his house and be like, why is it always so dark in here? The real question was, Alexandria, why do you keep ushering yourself into the darkness complaining? Get out. Get out. Get out of there. You see it ain't dark in here. It ain't dark in here, boo. Sunshine. It ain't dark in here. Why do you keep ushering yourself into the darkness complaining? For what? For what? Get up out of there. You got 2 feet, don't you? You tough, right, nigga? Get out of there. Get out of there. My own mother does not have the capacity to love me. I ain't talked to that lady in 5 years. She's the reason I exist. Carrying me in her womb, and I say, oh, wow, this is going to be hard. Did it. Okay. Did it. Done. I can't be around that girl. She tripping. How it's some things that you just ain't gonna be able to do. Okay? You and don't let and you that's how serious you have to be about who you allow around you. How you don't play. I'm not desperate for love in the capacity of keeping a relationship with a woman who has told me to my face she hate me. Oh, okay, I hear you. I'm finna go. I hear you. Grandma, like, you really not, that is your mother. That's your daughter. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Now, if you want to keep talking to me, don't bring her up no more, or I ain't gonna talk to you no more neither. All right? I love you. You know what she do? She don't bring her ass up no more. That is, look, I did everything y'all said. I was agreeable, I was malleable, I was subservient, I was submissive, I was kind, I was the good girl, I was perfect. I watched my mouth, I overly apologized. I have apologized to people who should have never even been in my fucking face. I have apologized to people who I should have slapped the dog shit out of. And when you apologize to people who, and when you apologize to people who are actively, intentionally manipulating you, because they're so screwed up, they convince themselves that their disposition is correct. Your overcorrection is enabling their narcissistic traits. I don't want to say that word because you are enabling people to disrespect you every time you apologize for something that if you apologize for taking up space, you're basically saying you're right. I'm not allowed to be here. That's what you're saying. And when you're desperate for interactions with people, when you're desperate for a job, you're going to be working somewhere where you feel like, why do I keep showing up? Get out of there. It's hard. I wouldn't say that right now, given the situation, you got to do what you got to do. But even in that, I'm watching God still take care of people. I remember back when the pandemic happened, like I said, when I was feeling desperate for provision, I felt like I had to attach myself in the most desperate of ways to this man who was not the way he was interacting with me meant that that's not someone I should have been trying to attach myself to. But my circumstances had made me so desperate. I felt like I need to be with him in order to be okay. Me, the person who has damn near orphaned herself. You need a nigga? Are you okay? Are you okay? No, you don't. Get up. Shut up. No, you don't. Shut up. You're pissing me off. You got to watch that desperation. You got to watch it. It's a sneaky little sly little devil, because the desperation tell you, well, I'm doing what I got to do. Or have you gotten so blinded by where you are that you are thinking that that's what you got to do? Desperation limits your optimism. It does. Desperation can actually ruin your brand if you're desperate to prove a point. If you're desperate to keep taking care of people who should be taking care of themselves. Desperation can ruin you. I'm not saying that not being desperate will save you. No, you're going to go through shit when you decide. You're going to go through a lot. You will go through a lot when you decide not to do things from a desperate standpoint. And on the other side, I will say, talking with someone who you can trust, or even writing it in a journal if there's nobody you can trust at the moment. A therapist, you can talk to your therapist about it. When you say something out loud and you hear it, if you're aware enough of yourself and who you've been and who you would like to be, and who you consistently are, you'll be able to just let that thought go on and be like, wow, this is how people become someone they don't recognize. Because if you're not aware of what is going on around you to where it has you having thoughts that are unfamiliar to you, how would you know that you are losing yourself in your circumstances? It starts with how you think. That's how you know. When you start having thoughts that are not familiar, when you start doing things that are out of your character, that if you start hearing, that's not like you in a bad way, check that. Now, if you start hearing, because the old you would have, in a good way, I know that's right, period.